Moreover, the use of begotten in Psalm 2:7 has clear covenant significance. We don't have to make it an ontological discussion. It has covenant significance, once again emphasizing relationship rather than ontological categories. So when we look at Psalm 2 where God says, through the mouth of the psalmist, "You are my son, today I've begotten thee," a psalm that John in 1:14 would have been familiar with when he uses the same Greek word, same Greek phrase, monogenoůs or monogenes, is the root word. Then both the writer to the book of Psalms as well as John, as well as the writer to the Hebrews, as we saw 2 weeks ago, they don't have to be focusing on this ontological aspect of this phrase monogenes. Rather, the Hebraic aspect can simply entirely focus on the relational aspect of father to son and why this bears covenant significance for the person who is the recipient of being begotten, like in the book of Psalms, like the Davidic king. So it continues, thus, while the doctrine of the eternal generation of the Son was constructed in the first centuries to describe something that is true, so don't get me wrong, i.e. the eternal preexistence of Yeshua, I do believe that's a true statement, and I do believe that the first century fathers, the patristic writings, and the ensuing debates that took place between the 2nd and 5th centuries over the nature of Christ, I believe those were necessary and very helpful. And the creeds that we formulated finally later on in the later 4th and early 5th centuries, right, the Nicene Creed and things like that, I believe that those were necessary and they are good tools, and we can use that information. But at the same time, Tim Higgs trying to let us know, and he continues, it essentially, those that focusing only on the nature of Christ, it essentially misconstrues the use of monogenes in John's Gospel. What John's word tells us is that Yeshua is the only unique Son of God who became flesh, truly human, in order to dwell with us with the purpose that we should come to understand and appreciate the very glory of God. You understand what Tim Higgs trying to focus on? It's not that Jesus is not God. Yes, John understands that. He talked about that earlier in verse 1. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. Not a God, not a demigod, not a lesser God that comes alongside of the greater God or something to that effect, but very God himself, possessing the same quality and deity and nature and essential function. We would say in the Greek, the homoousios, or the homoousion, the very same nature as God. The Son possesses that very same nature. He's one in this, or now we say consubstantial is what we say in our creeds. But the point that John's trying to make in verse 14 when he describes Yeshua as being the only begotten is not that he is this eternally existent being like God was. The point that John's trying to stress now by using this phrase monogenoůs, which is rooted in the Greek word monogenes, is that Jesus is the only unique Son of God. He is truly human. He dwelt with us, as Tim Higgs says, with the purpose that we should come to understand and appreciate the very glory of God. And Tim Higgs concludes, and we'll use this to conclude our study tonight. This last paragraph right here is what I'm going to read, right there. John goes on in his prologue to note the witness of Yochanan the Immerser, that's John the Baptist, to Yeshua's unique status. That is, this was he of whom I said, he who comes after me has a higher rank than I, for he existed before me. That's verse 15. So John does express his ontological nature there.